Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rita, and for today we'll be talking on defects or defect life cycle. What is a defect? Reasons for defect rejection. When do we close a bug or defects? Defect life cycle stage. As we all know, defect can be classified as a bug, so I might be using it interchangeably. And sometimes some people will argue it's still not the same. But yeah, you can also do research on that. Okay. Can you pause the recording, please? Defect refers in a software testing, a defect refers to any deviation or flaw in the software application that causes it to behave differently from its expected or specified behavior. So I've been talking, you guys have heard me say one or two things about defects in the past lessons that we've had. As a tester, this is what we are being paid to do, looking for a defect in the system. And there's no way you will not find a defect once a defect has gone through a development life cycle. You're bound to find a defect. And if you don't find a defect, then you are not required. So that's the more reason why you have to come with all the soft skills, eye for details, attention to details, keen eye for details. You know, you have to go extra mile. That's what sets us apart from any other person that is a tester in any other field. As a tester on IT, you have to have keen eye for details. You have to be able to go extra mile to look for this defect. Like, as I said, I'll repeat, if you don't find a defect, then you are not required. If you can't find a defect as a tester, you are not required, because that's your main goal. Because you want to be able to deliver an error-free or defect-free software, defect-free application. So it says this defect, also known as bugs or issues. So different organizations use different names amongst these three. Can range from minor, which can also be classified as cosmetic, to critical errors that can lead to system failures. So detecting and fixing defects is a crucial part of the software development lifecycle to ensure that the final product meets quality standards. I'm sure you guys have heard this quality over and over again. In some cases, we'll say high quality standard. So it's always there, and user expectations. Next slide, please. Defect life cycle. The defect life cycle describes the different stage a bug can be in through its entire life cycle. Another explanation can also be the defect life cycle describes the stages through which a defect progresses from identification to resolution. It helps to track the status of defects and ensure they are effectively managed and resolved. So when a defect is found, it goes through a circle. As you guys have noticed, everything is in circle. You have the software development life cycle. You have the software testing life cycle. Now we are doing defect life cycle. Why is it in circle? Because there's a process. You have to follow that process. There's an approach to it. When a defect is found, from the time a defect is found, it starts to go through the life cycle of that defect. The defect life cycle begins the moment a defect is born. Let me put it that way. So the defect life cycle also involves the classification of the different priorities and severities of the bugs identified by the testing team. Defect priority refers to the order in which defect should be resolved. We'll move to the next slide quickly, please. So as you can see on this diagram, we have this is the defect life cycle from new to assign to open to fix, pending, which can be retest depending on as the case may be. And you then have the reopen. So you can only have a reopen depending on the case, which we will touch on. And then you also have the retest. So the reopen leads to a retest. And then you then have the verified. And then that's when the bug can be closed, which we will touch on. So if you also notice on the other side, we have duplicate. When a bug is new, assigned, open, then there's a duplicate, there's rejected, there's deferred, not a bug. So we'll touch on all these as we move along. Next slide, please. I hope we are with our notes, please. So the reasons for defects, because when you find a defect goes through a life cycle, which is the new and all the ones we just mentioned, assigned and all the rest, which we will touch on. But the reasons for defect being rejected can be one of these reasons. If you find a defect, if you are working as a tester and you find a defect and your defect is being rejected, you might be wondering, why would my defect be rejected? There are different reasons for why it can be rejected. And these are some of the reasons. We have enhancement, not enough information on your report, defect not reproducible, out of scope defect, and duplicates defect. So we have been talking about defect. Defect are bugs that you have found in application. How to find defect in application? By executing your test case that has been designed. So when it fails, you report the defect. That's how you find a defect. When you have created a test, when you've created a test case, in the case of manual, when you've created a test case or you've designed a test case, not right. Remember, not right. You gotta use the word design, more professional. So when you've designed a test case and then you execute your test case, you could find a defect. Why? Because you are expecting a particular result, which is where we then come in with the actual and expected. So if you find actual, which is what you are seeing, or is that what you are expecting? The last time I used the illustration of hamburger and Big Mac. You ordered a Big Mac, but you found you got a hamburger. Is that what you want? Your expectations was Big Mac, but you got a hamburger. So that's the difference between actual and expected. So you please write that down. Actual and expected. Actual is what you are seeing. Expected is what you are expecting from the software. Its intended behavior, how you expected it to behave, but you are not finding it like that, then that's the actual. But when it's expected, when it's behaving as expected, then that's your expected. Say, for instance, you click on the login. Once you click on the login, you expect it to open up or take you to the next page where you then say, put in your email address and your password. But when you click on login and you are getting something like maybe you create your account or registration and there's nowhere for you to put your details and you have already created an account, that's an error. That's just another way of explaining. I mean, it hardly happens, but it can happen. So in that instance, that's not what you were expecting. You were expecting for you to be able to put in your details and just go in straight because you have already created an account. Hence, that's why you went through login. So you find the defect, you report the defect. You use bug tracking tools in some cases to record your defects and what happens to the reported bug. You know, like as we said, defect goes through a lot of phases. Once a defect is found, it means a defect is born, like as I said earlier. So let's take enhancement. I did have an illustration for enhancement. When a bug is rejected due to enhancement, this means maybe an enhancement has been done, but has not been updated on your acceptance criteria. Your acceptance criteria is the user story that has been gathered from the BA that has been given to you to use as a guide to define or design your test cases, which will then lead you to executing those test cases. So in the case of enhancement, Julia, if you can go to the next slide, I think I have one illustration there. Let me use that. Is Julia there? Okay. So this illustration here, it says returning customer. You as a tester, you have this on your user interface, and your acceptance criteria only covered the email address and the password and doesn't cover the forgotten password. You go on there and then you think, following your acceptance criteria, you only have email address and password. And you then think, oh, there's no forgotten password, and then you raise a bug. Can you be muted, please? If you're not speaking to me, thank you. So when you find this, oh, that's good because that's a keen eye for details. You've noticed something. And then if you report this as a bug, and then they come back to you and say, oh no, the clients did update the requirement, or there was a change in the requirement saying, oh, they want forgotten password on the user interface. But you have not been updated on this. The development team did not get back to you on this, or to the testing team. So an enhancement has been done. So you as a tester then choose to raise a bug due to this. It's not a bug because it's just an enhancement. Please, if you have any question, put it on the chat, and or you can write it down after the class. So that means it's not a bug. This is when sometimes you then have a triage meeting or with the developer to discuss it. It's not a bug, but you haven't done anything wrong. Please try and understand. You haven't done anything wrong because you have just followed the acceptance criteria that you were given. And this is enhancement I am explaining. Please listen carefully. This is enhancement. I'm explaining enhancement. So it is an enhancement. It's not a defect. So therefore, it becomes invalid. Enhancement is when an AC, your acceptance criteria, is saying something different, and then just like as I said, you have your acceptance criteria stating that on this page you should only have email address and password, and forgotten password is not on the acceptance criteria. Don't forget, acceptance criteria is what you will use to write your test case that you will execute. So when you then see forgotten password, you then raise a bug because you are now thinking, oh, they haven't told me that, or it is not written in the acceptance criteria that forgotten password needs to be there. And then you have decided to raise a bug based on you finding that forgotten password is there. It's not, you haven't done anything wrong, but it is not a valid bug. It is invalid. The fact that, sorry, Julia, we'll go back there. The fact that it is not in your requirement doesn't mean it is a bug. It is not a defect. It is only an enhancement that you weren't updated on. Other team members knew about it. So in this instance, we will say it was lack of miscommunication. So therefore, this defect will not be valid. If you can go back to the previous slide, please. I was just using this illustration to explain enhancement. Then we have not enough information on your report. So as a tester, once you raise a bug, you will click on the create a bug on the Azure board. It brings out the step to reproduce for you. You must put in a clear and concise detailed of your report, what you were expecting and what your actual result is. Reason for this, and you can also add screenshots in some cases. Now, the reason why we do this is to back up your execution, that you have done a thorough job. If you don't have a clear report of the bug you have raised, it can also be rejected. Remember, we are dealing with why bugs can be rejected. So if you don't have a valid report to back up your bug that you have created, because you are telling your test lead that as a tester, I've done my job, this is what I found, but you haven't given me a clear report to say this is what you were expecting. It has to be your actual and your expected result has to be there. A screenshot has to be there on your report. If you can do a video, you can use that. I think with Snipping too, you can use a video to track the defect. So there are different ways you can track the defect and add it to your report for it to be made clear. So those are some of the reasons why a bug can be rejected if there is no clear report to say this is the reason why you raised a bug. That's just what it is. So let's the next one is defect not reproducible. Now, this defect not reproducible is to do with when you raise a bug. That's why you have to be thorough when you are raising a bug. You have to do it over and over to be sure it's a bug. So when you find a bug and your test lead needs to review it, by the time your test lead follow your steps to reproduce and noticed or the bug did not replicate on the machine of your test lead, he can also, the test lead can also reject the bug. Say, for instance, Omi, I hope I pronounced your name properly, has tested a particular feature. And this feature, let me use contact us page, saying, oh, the link should be clickable to take you to the next page. And Omi has clicked on this link and is not taking her to the next page. But somebody else have carried out this test, maybe another QA, and it's working as expected on the other QA's machine. Is that a bug? Is that a valid bug? So that means it's either Omi has not followed the proper steps, or it could be due to your network. Your network can affect your execution when you are carrying out a test. It could also be your laptop due to configuration issues. It could be anything. And sometimes when you work on a browser, you test on a particular browser, it might fail on that browser. That's why sometimes we do cross-browser. You have to check it all across the other browser, like the Chrome, the Firefox, and the rest of them. So say, for instance, you could carry out a test on Chrome and I could carry out a test on Firefox and we might not arrive at the same result. So that's the reason why sometimes we do cross-browser tests as well, which can be classified as compatibility testing. So as a tester, you should be thorough when testing. You should have, you should carry out your tests more than once. You should do it. You should be sure before raising a bug as a tester. Those are the things, because you can't make mistake as a tester raising a bug that is not a bug. It doesn't tell good. And so you don't also want to miss a bug as a tester. So that is why we always say you have to be thorough as a tester. You have to go extra mile as a tester. Now, coming to the out of scope. Out of scope is if you feel, oh, I think there was a time we had the cohorts that were working on a greenfield application, not greenfield, on a brownfield application. And because this website was already ready, that's what a brownfield application is, a site that is already in existence that have a code. And you then realize, oh, the footer is there. And meanwhile, you are working on header. You decide to raise a bug because you are seeing footer. No, that is not a bug. You need to follow your acceptance criteria. So if what I'm trying to say, for instance, you are working on prep major and you are working on login, or let me say about us on, let me say, yeah, about us, which is on the header. And then you notice there's contact us on the footer. You cannot raise a bug saying, we had some cohorts doing that, which is all right, but they then get to understand, no, it's not a bug, because that particular feature is ready for the next sprint. The developers are just ahead. So for this particular sprint, you are working on a particular feature and you have your acceptance criteria. Please follow that acceptance criteria. Don't go out of scope raising defect for what is not in your acceptance criteria, which can be classified as AC sometimes. You hear some people say AC. So you follow your acceptance criteria. What is in your acceptance criteria? That is what you will use to raise a defect or a bug. Don't say, oh, you find something else that is not in your acceptance criteria and start raising bugs for it. So you can go ahead.
Can we stop the recording for a minute? Thank you.
David. Okay. So, like as I said, for out of scope, you have to follow what is in the AC. Don't go out of scope. Exactly what I'm saying. So with that, your defect can be rejected. So that's another reason. If you've raised a defect that is out of scope, it will be rejected by your test manager. The last one is duplicate defects. Now, a duplicate defect is a situation whereby you are not the only tester in the team. And I'll use Umi again as an example. Umi has already raised a defect, and then Davies went ahead and also raised a defect on that same particular feature. That is a duplicate. So that can also be rejected. So as a tester, they have to be, as the testing team have to have an effective communication going on around them. That's why sometimes your traceability matrix will be in, we come very handy in this kind of situation, because whatever you are doing is being tracked or put down in your traceability matrix. So when a particular tester have gone ahead to raise a defect, if you are not aware, it's all right. But if you are aware, you shouldn't go ahead and also raise a defect. It's a no-no. So in that case, it will also be rejected. Your test manager can also reject it because it's now a duplicate. So you can't report such defects to one particular feature onto defect being raised. So it will not be acceptable. It will not be accepted. So these are the reasons why your defects can be rejected. Please, let's take note. Amongst other things that can also, be out there, but these are the most common mistakes that can be done: enhancement, and not enough information on your report. As a tester, you have to create a clear and concise report whenever you raise a defect. I cannot emphasize on that enough. Back it up with screenshots, back it up with videos. And defect not reproducible, you have to be thorough while testing. You have to go extra mile while testing. And then you're out of scope, follow your acceptance criteria. Follow your acceptance criteria. Duplicate defect, if you have more than one tester on a team, they have to be effective communication between you and your fellow testers. Or they have to be effective communication between the testing team, so as to avoid duplicated defects. Next slide, please. Thank you, Angela. Don't know why I want to call you defects. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. So this is the defect defect life cycle, like we saw earlier. So you have the new, the open, the fix, the retest, and the close, which I will then touch on now. Next slide, please. So the defect life cycle, as we can see, it says new. The defect has been raised, but hasn't been validated yet. So which by the time we get into the practical bit, you guys will have a deeper understanding. When a defect is raised, it becomes new. That new, you can then put it in the new column on the Azure board. Some people put it in different places anyway, but here in Blue Sky, we put it in new. Sometimes some people will put it back in the dev column for the developers, but it's appropriate for you to put it in new. Why? Because it needs to be approved. So which takes us to the next one, assigned. A member of the development team has been assigned the defect after it has been, because when you raise a defect on the Azure board, there's a place where you will say assign. So you have to assign that bug to a developer. Once you assign that bug to the developer, it will flag. So the developer will then know a bug has been assigned to the development team. So it can then be picked up. So that's you assigning a bug. Once a bug is found, you have to assign it for it to be fixed by the development team. So from there, once it has been assigned, and the developer then investigates it to see if it's a valid bug, because your developer can also reject bug. So as a tester, you should have a good communication with your developers anyway, because this is going to happen. There will be times that things will not go up, but you just have to be professional about it and make your developers see reason why you are raising a bug. And sometimes in some cases, like when I became a developer, I don't like raising a bug as a tester. Why? Because I don't want to, when I became a developer, I don't want bugs being raised for me. So if you come to me and say, when you find like a defect, I'd rather you come to me and then we'll talk it out and then I'll fix it than you raising a bug. That was me just being biased. But yeah, but the right process as a tester, you assign it to a developer. The developer will then investigate it. If it's a valid bug, then it becomes active. If it's not valid, this is when the developer can reject it. So then the defect, once it is active, you will then pick it up. Maybe then it will be moved into the QA done. Once the developer has then fixed it, you will then test it. Then when it's reopened, the purpose of fix has been rejected by the QA team. So the issue remains unsolved. Because in some cases, developer will say it's been fixed. And then you as a QA, you go back and check it. The bug is still there. Then you send it back. That is the reopen. You send it back to the developer. So in that instance, if you find a bug again, you put it back on the what's it called? The dev in column, the developer column. So when on the Azure board, once it's there, the developer will know, okay, you've returned the PBI to them. And then the defect has been fixed and verified by the QA team. You will then retest it again. So if it passes, that's when you close it. The defect is no longer in existence. Do you understand the circle now? So first, when it's found, you put it in the new column, and then you have to assign it. Once it's found, you assign it, and then you put it in the new column. Then the developer will then investigate it. If it's a valid bug, then the developer will then make it active and fix it. When it's fixed, the developer will then put it in the dev done. This is the practical aspect I'm just explaining, exactly how it is on the board. Once you create a bug, after you've executed it, you create a bug. Once you create a bug, you assign it. It's there on the board. Everything is there for you to, I mean, you don't need a manual for it. You see how it goes. It's easy. It's easy to assess. It's easy to carry out. So once you assign it to the developer, knowing the developer's name, once you assign it, then they'll pick it up and then investigate it if it's a valid bug. And once it's valid, they put it, they fix it. Once it's fixed, you as the tester, you then pick it from the dev done column. Because once it's done, once the developer has finished working on it, they put it on a column called dev done, meaning they are done. So once you pick it up from there, you put it into in QA column and test it. Once you test it, if it's fixed, then you can close it. But if it's not fixed, you put it back in the dev in dev. Yeah, in dev. You put it back in the in dev column. That is you telling the developer, no, it's not fixed. Don't put it back in dev done. You put it back in dev. So you then go again and test it. When they bring it back to you saying it is done, then you test it again, and then you can then close it. So it says rejected there. If the defect has already been raised, not reproducible or not a defect, then the bug can enter a rejected state, which is what I've also explained. So if the bug don't have a clear report, it can be rejected, which is the not reproducible. And if the defect is if it's not a defect, if it's not a valid defect, it can also be rejected. Then the third is when the bug has been prioritized for the next release. Say, for instance, it's not something that can be fixed in this sprint. We'll move it on into the next sprint. That's the fact. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when you close a defect, this is another life cycle. When do testers close a defect? When it's fixed. Like I said earlier, once you are done, you've tested it and it's fixed, you can close this defect. Another reason why why testers close a defect is that it cannot reproduce, which is also what we are saying. So sometimes when a defect is rejected, you close it. So for some of these reasons, this is why it can be closed. So when it's fixed, you close it. When it cannot reproduce, you close it. When it's duplicate, you close it. When it's obsolete, you close it. When it's deferred, you close it. When it's rejected, you close it. When it's a bug triage, say for instance, like as I said, when I became a developer, I don't like a bug being raised. We talk about it. You guys we've come together, the testing team and the developer team, and we've talked on it. That's a bug triage. It can then be closed depending on the outcome, depending on what the bug is. So which will take us to the priorities and the severities of bugs. So these are the reasons why testers can also close a defect when it's fixed, when it's a duplicate, when it's obsolete, when it's defect, when it's rejected, when it's bug triage, and when it cannot reproduce. Next slide, please. So this is just a screenshot of, I took this off the internet. This is not our own Azure board. So when a bug is raised, as you can see, the bug symbol, the red one, that's how it comes up on the Azure board. Yes, thank you, Juliet. So when a bug is raised, we have that icon next to it. And then, as you can see on the other side, it says committed new. When you raise a bug, it goes to new. Committed is for new PBIs, but people use it interchangeably, like as I said earlier. So sometimes people raise bug and they put it in committed, because committed also means like something is coming into the sprint. Like maybe when we commit PBIs into sprints, they stay uncommitted until maybe when the developer picks it up and works on it and then put it in dev done, and then the testers. So it keeps going like that. The Azure board also have a circle. It has a process. So it can either be in the new or committed. So that's just what it looks like when a bug is raised. That's just what this illustration is for. And then as you can see, sorry, Juliet, I know I didn't capture that bit. Repro steps, that's your steps to reproduce. It says click to add repro steps. So if you have your steps, this is where it will be, under where it says repro steps. If you have any screenshots, you then attach it to it. There's a place where you can say attach attachment, something like that. Yeah, for attachment, when you have a picture to attach to it. So you use the attachment menu to do that. And if it's on your browser, say for instance, it's a video, you can also use your browser and go into your file explorer to fetch it out and then put it on the steps to reproduce. So that's just how it works. Under your repro steps, you put in all the necessary details, all the information that is required for you to report, for your report for the bug. Next slide, please. So we have the defect priority. The QA team typically sets the priority status when the defect is brought to the attention of the development team, and it's based on the end user's requirements. So we have the low priority. The defect fix is not an urgent nature and can be delayed until more important fixes are complete. So say, for instance, you have, I think I've also touched on it, defect footer session has a broken link to the terms of service and things like that, to the terms of service page. And yeah, the link in the footer, once you click on it, leads you to an error page saying 404, which means that page cannot be, it's not accessible or things like that. But it doesn't stop you from doing anything else you want to do. Say, for instance, there's an e-commerce website. It doesn't stop you from buying what you want to buy on the site. It doesn't stop you from picking your orders, putting it in the cart, and making payment. As long as it doesn't stop you from purchasing, from making transactions, then it is not of high priority. Because user is only looking for a legal information on the terms of service, which might, of course, be inconvenient because you wanted to do something on it, but it does not have any impact on the shopping functionality. Then it is of low priority. Of course, it's a bug, but it is low because bugs are in stages. You have the low, you have the medium, you have the high, you have the urgent. So it is not of high priority. It is low, which now brings us to the medium. The development team should fix the bug in subsequent builds for medium priority. And so for medium priority, say for instance, your product image fails to load on the home page, and but user can still access and also make payment for their product. Of course, it makes the page looks unprofessional. It's like when I use the one of Big Mac and hamburger. But as long as you can still purchase your product, it is not of high priority. But of course, it is of medium. So it's also, will I say, it's a source of concern? Yes. Let me put it that way. Because if images also fails to load for you to be able to buy what you want to buy, it will also put you off as a user, isn't it? It will put you off. And that might lead to you, even as a customer, not going to that page again. But it now depends. If other images are loading, maybe it's one or two particular images that is being affected, but it will be fixed, but it's medium. It needs to be fixed urgently. It needs to be fixed. So it will go through the bug fixing life cycle. So it needs to be fixed. Then we have the one that is of high priority. The impact of the bug on the software is substantial and should be addressed immediately. When there's a high priority bug, like as you can see, it says addressed immediately. Because say, for instance, let me use add to cart here. The button does not work on the product detail page for newly launched product, things like that. And you are interested on a new product. That's a bug. That is of high priority. That's a loss to the company. It will impact sales and it will frustrate users. So that might not even bring you to the site again, knowing fully whether this is what you are experiencing. So that's a high priority bug that needs to be fixed, because even the organization will lose money. They will lose sales. And you as a user or as a customer, it will put you off going to that same particular site to want to buy anything from there. So it's of high priority and needs to be addressed immediately. Why urgent? Say, for instance, payment processing also fails. Then maybe in this instance, all credit card transactions are not acceptable. That is an urgent bug that needs to be fixed. Very urgent. It says the product cannot be used until the defect is fixed. So it should be resolved urgently. So if you cannot buy it, then you can't use it. And why can't you buy it? Due to error in the system that it's making you not have access to make payment. That's not allowing you to make payments. So that needs to be fixed urgently, because even you as a buyer, you'll be dissatisfied. And then the company, on the other hand, is also losing money. It will lead to significant revenue loss. So this is very urgent and is an urgent priority that needs to be addressed immediately, very urgently. If you can notice, the high priority says addressed immediately, while the urgent priority says resolved urgently. If you can notice those two different words there, immediately and urgently. Urgently means like instantly. It has to be resolved because revenue loss is being affected. The company's revenue loss is being affected, and even leading to users' dissatisfaction. And so by categorizing and prioritizing these defects, organization can maintain its functionality and user satisfaction, and overall usability while managing development resources efficiently. That's just the purpose of defect priorities. So when you raise a bug, there's also a column where you can put the severity of the bug. So you as a tester, you need to be able to differentiate the severities of bugs. So that's the purpose of defect priorities, because you will be making it clear in your report. There's a column for you on the Azure board to say the severity of the bug that you've raised. So if it's of low or medium or high or urgent priority. Next slide, please. Okay. Sorry, something was blocking. So we have, which also now brings us to defect severity. So guys, let's not be confused. We have different priorities, defect priorities and defect severity. Defect severity is based on how severely the defect impacts the functionality of the software and how complex it is for the development team to resolve. That's the defect severity. And under defect severity, we then also have critical severity, major severity, medium severity, low severity as well. So let's start with the critical severity, because defect severity refers to the impact of a software defect. The impact the defect is having on the software or the functionality of an application. That is what defect severity is. I'll take it again. It means the impact that defect is having on the software application. I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. Defect severity means the impact. How is this impact? How heavy is this impact? That's what we want to find out. How heavy is this impact? Is this severity on this software application? It also helps us to, this defect severity, it helps us to prioritize the resolution of the defect based on the importance and urgency of it. Because this is what will help you to decide how urgent it is for you to fix it. So defect severity is it's practically a typical categorized. It's practically and typically categorized into several levels, like as I just said: critical, major, medium, and low, which is from minor to of significant effect. So the critical is mainly like a blocker. So you guys have heard me say blocker, or when you say what's it called? Showstopper. Please put your question in the chat. So critical is a blocker, or you can say a showstopper. It says the defect affects the core functionality of the software, and the QA team cannot continue testing the product until it is fixed. That's why I said it can be classified as a showstopper. Everything will stop until it is fixed. An example of a defect that is critical severity is one that causes the product to crash often. Defect causes complete failure of the software. It severely, like he says, impacts systems functionality, making it unusable. When it crashes, you can't use it. and it requires immediate attention and resolution. So let me say an example could be data corruption, system crash, or security vulnerabilities. Then you can't use it. If you are being, if your system is being hacked, can you use it? No. If you have data corruption, whereby you're asking for something and the system is giving you error 404 or is giving you what you are not getting, yes, then you can't use the system. That's why it says it leads to, okay, I don't know what's that. Yeah. So it's a crash. You can't use it. Why major, which can also be classified as high severity, is the defect affect core function considerably, but the test team can continue. Try and understand this. It says the defect affects core function considerably, but the test team can continue testing other aspects of the software without this one first having to be fixed. Don't get it wrong. It means we can continue testing. Oh yes, there's a major severity somewhere on this particular feature, but probably that feature is not relying on any other feature. Then we can continue. That's just what major severity is. It significantly have impacts as well on a major functionality of a software, but it may not completely block the system. But bear in mind, it can also cause major disruption and needs to be fixed ASAP. Like as I said, if it's a relying one, if it's relying on other feature, then it has to be fixed. But if it's not relying on any other feature, but it's still a major one, then it also needs to be fixed. That's just what it is. But we can then carry on testing on other features because this particular one is on its own. If it's relying on only one other feature, yes, we'll carry on testing other features. But it also needs to be fixed. Don't forget that. But it's not high, it's not critical. It doesn't stop every other thing from working. It's only affecting one particular feature. It's only affecting one or two other particular feature. And that is because maybe that other feature is relying on that other feature that is having a defect. That's just the difference between critical and major, but also required to be fixed. So, which brings us to the third one, which is medium, which can also be classified as moderate. This particular defect impacts just one screen or one specific function, but does not actually stop the function from working. I hope it's not confusing. Just settle down and go through the slides again. Don't even listen to my voice. You can reduce it, but read it. You will then get a full understanding or do a research. It says, the major says it affects core function, but the test team can still continue testing. While medium now says the defect impacts just one screen or one specific function, but does not actually stop the function from working. So a defect has been found on a function, but it doesn't stop it from working. What can that be? A non-critical part of the application. It will definitely cause inconvenience or partial loss of functionality, but it has a workaround. You can work around it. Of course, the defect is there, but you can work around it. It should be addressed in the normal course of the bug fixing life cycle. Minor feature. It can also be like a malfunction or it's less significant. Let me just put it that way. Because an example would be, say, for instance, let me use the case of that picture we had earlier. You can still say, for instance, you can still put in your what is it called? Your email address and your sorry, Juliet. Go back to the next slide. The previous slide. Previous. Yes. I've not done low, have I? Yeah, I haven't done low. So yeah, thank you. That's fine. If you put in your email address, you put in your password, it can still take you there. Forgetting password is not there, or forgetting password is not clickable, but you can still put in your email address. Of course, it's creating an impact to that particular feature, but you can still work around it. You can still put your email address, put your password, and go into your account. When it is not required is when you now need to put forgotten password in a situation whereby you have forgotten your password, then it is required. So it's not as if that function is not important. It is important, but you can work around it. That's just what Medium is. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. If you can't hear, I hope if I can get a thumbs up that everyone is hearing me. I don't know, somebody saying he can't hear me. I'm sure I'm very loud and clear. Thank you, KG. So why the low severity is, yeah, it's your network. Low severity, the defect has no impact on the product functionality and is likely to be purely cosmetic. As you can see, there's even a cosmetic on the board already. Fixes, yeah, I say fixes AR4E. That's a cosmetic because it's a typo error, likely to improve your UX and your UI. I hope you people know the meaning of UX and UI. Use your Google. If you don't now, please. So the low severity is in a situation whereby it is just a typo error. It does not affect any core functionality in any way at all. It's not affecting any functionality and can be easily worked around. That's just what it is. Can be scheduled to be fixed anytime soon, but not urgently. So, like as I said, it can be a typo error or minor user face issues, cosmetic problem. Like as I said in one of the classes, I was on a site and the typo error was so massive that I don't know why they missed it. The spelling was wrong. But I know they could have noticed it. But it doesn't stop you from doing other things. And it's a big website. I can't remember the name. It doesn't stop you from doing what you want to do. It doesn't stop me from navigating to the next page. It doesn't stop any functionality. I can click on items. I can make purchase, make transactions. Then it's not of high priority. It's only a cosmetic box and can be fixed at any time. That doesn't mean you will leave it once it is. I mean, once you find it, you will want to fix it. Yes. But maybe the developers are also too busy that they will say, no, we have other high priority bugs to fix now. Then that's the reason why it's waiting. So it's not because it's not it's just a typo error, it's being ignored. No, it's not being ignored. If you have higher priority as a tester, even when you come in the morning, your day-to-day activity as a tester, you pick the tickets. Sorry, I used that word. We are not allowed to use tickets. You pick the PBIs, product backlog item. That's PBIs. Note it down. I'm going to ask you. You pick the PBI that is of high priority while testing as well. So in a case whereby if you are the only testers or you are two testers and you have your board, you have to list it, the one that is of high priority. That is why when you people start your practical, we always start with the header. We've seen so many cases, some cohorts, especially the BAs, you're going to have issues. Doesn't mean you fight them. It's just normal. It happens. Brainstorming or icebreaker, or what do we call it? So before you people will then settle down, because everybody is trying, some of the BAs, they will go out of requirements, think as in imagine it the way they envisage it in their own head by not following requirements, and say, oh, this is how we want the website to look like. So you as a tester, you are following requirements. You bring them back to the reality and say, no, 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 that's not what you are meant to do. This is what we are looking for. This is the feature we need. This is how the user interface should look like. You understand? So these are all the things you look out for. So when you as a tester want to test, you will go for the high priority PBIs. Like as I was saying earlier, you start with header. If the header acceptance criteria is ready, you start with header. At some point, we were having some cohort, which is all right, it's normal. I'm sure they will never make such mistake, because sometimes when you make mistake, that's when such mistake will never repeat itself, because you will always remember that mistake. So they started from the body. So when you are creating a site, you must be header and footer before body. You just don't start with body. You start creating slides when you don't have header. No. You must have a header. You must have log. That's why if you notice, I'm always using logging, because those are the first functionalities in any site. Those are the first thing. So you have your header, you have your home page, you have your before all those about us and all those other things has to come, and then the other things on the footer. So that's just what it is for your defect severity. So we have to understand and accurately assess all these defect severity. It is very crucial for effective bug tracking. It is very crucial. I cannot emphasize on it enough. Otherwise, you'll be all over the place. You have to know the difference, and ensuring the delivery of high quality. If you notice, high quality is always what we are ending it with, high quality software, because that's what we have been paid to do. You don't want to pay a tester and then you are delivering a software that the functions are not working as expected. No. So the critical stage, it crashes. Say, for instance, I'm using a banking application. Let me just quickly use this illustration. Let me see what the time is. Say, for instance, okay. Say, for instance, a banking application in the critical stage. Say every time user log in, they are unable to access their accounts or perform any transaction. So anytime you log into the site, it will just crash. Then it has to be fixed, because it's useless. You can't use it. Like as it says there, the defect affects the core functionality of the software, and the QA team cannot continue testing. So until the product is fixed. So an example of a defect that is critical severity is one that causes the product to crash often. So that's it. Once it's not, you can't use it. It's a critical, and it's a critical defect that needs to be fixed. So if we are to use another for high, you say in the terms of if you're unable to do a transfer and it fails to execute between accounts, say you want to transfer money from one account to another, user cannot transfer account. It's also a core functionality. That's major, which is high. And then you then have the medium. If you're unable to view your history, say for instance, you have been transferring money or money has been coming in and you're unable to view your history, your transaction history, and it's displaying different dates, is not in alignment of how it should be. Maybe you are getting, you didn't do a transaction on the 25th, and then the one you did on the 26th came to 21st, things like that. It's not in alignment. Then it needs to be fixed, because you as a user, you'll be frustrated. So you have to, you want to understand your transactions that you've made. You need a clear and updated history, transaction history. So that is a defect, but might not be fixed immediately. Why? Because there are higher or there are critical bugs, but it doesn't mean it will not be fixed. Then say for the low one, you want to pay a bill, and the user interface is not in a maybe when you click on submit button, let me use that, and it's slightly misaligned on the user interface. It's not looking as it should look, which is like a cosmetic issue. But you can still do what you want to do. This is you walking around it. So even some users might not notice it because you can do what you want to do. So it may be an IT personnel or some customers. I don't think customers will want to complain about that anyway, because you are doing what you want to do. So it's only if you as a tester have not found that you say, okay, it needs to be fixed, but not when you have critical bugs to fix. So that is why it will come under low severity. I hope I've been able to, next slide please, explain defect severity. So you also have bug queries. You open a shared query or you use a query editor to create useful bug queries, such as the following option: active bugs by priority, you put it on state, done, or state, or close. So when it's in progress, which is exactly what I've also said about the Azure board, when it's in progress, you can put it in committed. Like as I said, some people use committed, some people use new. So, and then it comes to a state of active. Then bugs to fix for a target release. You see the what is it called? Traceability matrix, requirement traceability matrix that I said earlier. You put it there, bugs to fix for a target release. Put it, report it in your requirement traceability matrix, RTM. Put it there if you have one. And you can also create one on your own as a tester to ensure you have a thorough test coverage. It will help you. Even if the organization don't have, you can create one on your own. It's a good practice if you can do it. Then recent bugs opened within the last 3 weeks, created date. And so this is you creating your bug queries. And then you can also do a research on that. The tip I have for you here is, once a bug has been closed and is fixed, actively released into deployment, recommended practice is to never reopen it due to regression. I hope this is clear. Instead, you should consider opening a new bug and link it to the older closed bug. So I'll take it again. It says once a bug has been closed and the fix is actively released in deployment, recommended practice is to never reopen it due to regression. And somebody check the meaning of deployment on Google. So once a bug has been closed and the fix is actively released in deployment, recommended practice is to never reopen. It's self-explanatory. I'm sure somebody will ask me a question on that. That's why I said somebody should check the meaning of deployment. Well, yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. I think we have. You can stop the recording. Thank you, Samuel. So, yeah, just hold that when somebody asks question. Can you unmute? Can you unmute and tell me what regression testing is? I mean, we will still do different types of testing. I've been talking about research, and I expected you to have done research. Who's the Juliet? Can you check who is the person that put the questions? I need you to unmute and tell me what regression. Samuel, come on. Tell the class what regression testing is. We have to make it interactable. I'm not going to be the only one talking. This is how we learn. No, don't use mouth, please. Let me just make it clear that this is how we will learn. Don't be shy. In fact, I can learn from you. That's what you don't know. So let's make it interactable. Tell me what you think. Everybody can make, we can make corrections here rather than making corrections outside. So you want to make your mistake here. So go for it. tell me what regression testing is, please. Is it Samuel?
Yeah, Samuel.
Thank you. Go for it.
I'm not sure what it is, but the little research I made, I think regression testing is all about when a particular bug has gone through the life cycle, or probably when a bug has been fixed before and it has been closed, then you find another bug relating to it, or a kind of retesting the whole software because of a particular bug that has been fixed before. I don't know, I'm not sure.
Well done.
Thank you.
I think regression
that,
test is
Please.
that part.
Okay, go for it.
I think regression testing is talking about a kind of
You can use your
re-executed,
Google. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me.
a kind of re-executing set of existing tests, maybe case, maybe to verify a kind of previous developed, maybe a kind of item that have been tested before. A test have been performed on it, but it's just for them to do a kind of regression testing
Okay.
for an existing test cases.
Oh, okay.
I try.
Yeah. I like the fact that everyone is getting challenged. Go for it.
Yeah, all right. From my own perspective, regression testing
Who is
comes
speaking,
up-
please?
Davis.
Okay, yes, go for
Yeah,
it.
so it comes up when a certain bug or defect has been attended to in the software development life cycle, and then maybe in another cycle of the development, some changes were introduced, maybe by the product owner, and then this bug is noticed again. Then there has to be a regression testing because this is a bug that has been dealt with again, but due to changes in maybe requirements, slight changes in requirements, it reintroduces that same bug again.
Yeah, well done. Thank you. I mean, you are all in the right path. And one easy way to also remember regression testing is when you find a defect and that defect has been fixed. Now, that defect, remember, it is fixed. So when that defect was now fixed, a particular feature was not affected because that feature was fixed. Then you have to now test that other feature. That's you doing regression. Like as you said, when Davis, when you said a new feature are added, yes, you can carry out a regression test after a new feature has been added to an existing one. Yes. And after a bug is fixed, yes, you carry out regression testing. After performance improvement, yes. Or after any change in code base. Now, like as I said, because that new bug was fixed, because when a bug is raised, which you people will get to, is in automation, when a bug is raised, it could be due to the fact that the elements are not interactable. It will cause the bug to fail with automation. Now, because it's code, then the developer will then go and fix it. When they fix it, this is there maybe with code, fixing it with code. It can then affect an existing feature. Please, if you're not speaking, be muted because for the sake of the recording. It will not affect an existing feature. Thereby, you then have to do a regression testing. Don't forget, when I talked about integration testing, is when both is to check if components are compatible. Say after you've done unit testing, the reason for integration testing is to now put them together. That was when I used the case of hot water, and when I use the case of what's it called now? Plumbing and electric. Without both working together effectively, you will not get hot water. That's what so when you've brought the module and I didn't go back to do my research. I don't know why I keep forgetting. When you do module 2 unit components, bringing them together, you've already tested them individually. Now you are testing them to see if they will work together. So that process, when a bug is fixed, it can also now affect another existing feature because there's a change in the code base. It's now affecting, probably because it's relying on it, maybe. There are different reasons for it. But well done to the 3 of you that answered it. When I throw a question like this, please feel free to check it on Google. That's how you will learn. That's why I said, let's make it interactive. So well done to you guys. You answered it well. So do more research on that as well. But that's how as easy as it can be for you to explain what regression testing is. Any other question, please? That was from the chat. So if there's anybody that have a question, please let's go for it. Before I start asking mine.
My question. Can you hear me? Yeah, this is Davis. My question is, when the testers discover a bug, who do they report it to straight away? If they report to developers, don't you think there will be some kind of biased mind? Like you said earlier, a developer does not even want to hear you say, oh, there's a bug. Don't you think, don't you think in a team, when the testers raise the bug and report to developer, the developer might just, out of their personal emotions, or to just dismiss it?
No,
kind of.
It doesn't work. No, it doesn't work like that. Now I'll take you back quickly to what we've done. When you raise a bug, that is why I said, when you create a bug on the Azure board, which I think I might be the one to take you guys on the practical. So when you raise a bug on the Azure board, you do create a bug. Once you create a bug, it brings out another page for you where you then have your steps to reproduce. It will then showcase where the bug has failed. So say, for instance, your what is it called? Your test case, it says, given I navigate to Amazon website, you are using your BDD format, which is your Gherkin syntax, given when then. You'll be taught that. Don't worry, write it down, given when then. So you don't say you've not heard of it. That's why I said take note, because when I'm talking, I might be talking ahead of some classes, and it will help you to do your research. Trust me, please. So when you design your test cases, when you say given when then, using the given when then Gherkin syntax, which can also be classified as a BDD, behavior-driven development, you will say, given I navigate to, what is it called, Amazon, when I click on a pair of sandals, then I should be able to make payments. Simple as that. Let me just put it out. Now, when you now want to execute manually, because we've not done automation, you will then open the websites. You have to, if you don't have 2 screens, you can put your 1 screen, make it into 2. It's easy for you to divide. Then you put it alongside each other. You divide your screen, you bring up the, what is it called? The Amazon website and your Azure board where you are executing your test case. Now, if you are able to go to Amazon easily, that first step has passed. Given I navigate to Amazon website, it has passed. Why? Because you have successfully navigated to the website and you are there. You are seeing it as expected. Now, when I click on this particular feature item, you click on the feature, it clicked as expected. Then you will click on pass. That's for manual. Then, which is your assertion, then I should be able to make payment. And then you get to payment. You couldn't make payment. You will then come back and click on the, I think is a no. Then you will then, on the board, you will then create a bug. Once you create a bug, a page will come up which says your steps to reproduce. In that instance, take a screenshot. Once you take a screenshot, You will put it there. And then your step reproduce will now bring out like a report of the execution you've done that has failed. Mind you, that steps to reproduce only comes up when you have created a bug. When your test case is passed, it doesn't create it. You can only create your own report or what would I call it now? What your own piece of document to add to it, your own screenshot and anything to add to it. But for defects, once you create a bug, it comes up and then produce those steps to you accordingly as you have passed it and as you have failed it. So it will be clear there. Once that is there, you have your screenshot to back it up. And look, I couldn't click on it. If it's a video with snipping tool, you can do a video. Few seconds video, just showing how you try to execute it and it didn't work. You can add it to it. And then do a summary report. Write your expectation and your actual results. Once you have that detailed and clear report, developer cannot say no. Now, when you create a bug, assign it to a developer. There's a place that says assign. You assign it to a developer. You don't assign it. So in Blue Sky here, you assign it to a developer. But if you have a test lead in a company, your test lead will review that bug first before you then assign it. This is like, two people comparing it and approving it before you then assign it to developer. Trust me, once your test lead have approved it as a valid bug, developer cannot bring it back. The least that can happen, or highest, is to then have a bug triage meeting. What is a bug triage meeting? You and your developer or your BA coming together, talking about the bug. Remember I said I used that process when I was a developer. So you then go, okay, this bug is not of a high priority. It's something I can do. Okay, that's fine. That's it. But mind you, you haven't raised the bug. Maybe because you have gone to the site, you have noticed it, you then come back, you say, okay, you want to discuss with the developers first. Then sometimes you see some developers, they'll tell you, go and raise a bug, it's fine. Then I can fix it. The developers don't get angry that you are raising a bug. No. The only thing is it has to be valid. When it's not valid, they will reject it. Developers will never, because that's your job as a tester. You have to raise a bug. Yeah, even if they get angry, but you have to do your job. They are also doing their job. I hope that's clear enough. So there's nothing biased about it. You've been paid. Remember, you've been paid to raise a bug as a tester. So that is your main job. Trust me. I hope that answers your question, Davis.
Yeah, happy.
Thank you. Any other question before we go into it? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be calling names and I need you to unmute and speak. Oluwabukola. Oluwabukola, are you there or you are in the kitchen?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for. Can you tell me the full meaning of RTM?
The full meaning of
RTM. Sorry?
Sorry, I'm not talking about that.
I didn't hear you.
RTM.
Yes.
Requirements, traceability matrix.
It took you time. Thank you. You've Googled it. It's fine. So you will never forget it. I don't mind you checking. You will never forget it. Trust me. Okay. Thank you very much. So Nathan, can you quickly tell me, Nathan, can you unmute, please, before I throw the question? Nathan?
Hello, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. Okay. How many types of severity do we have in a defect life cycle?
You have for your severity, you've got, in terms of your severity in a defect life cycle, you've got the critical, you got major or high, you got medium and low.
Well done. Thank you very much. Can you touch on them if you can? Or okay, let me ask someone
So
else. Do you want to explain them briefly? Do you have a deep understanding of
So
this?
a critical severity, normally you assign critical severity to a defect if it's a showstopper. So when I say showstopper,
Well done. That's the
it doesn't
buzzword.
allow testing to carry on. So that
Thank
will
you.
be, it has to be fixed immediately
Yes.
before we can carry on with any other thing. Now, in the case of a major or high severity, there's a work around it. It's one that doesn't stop testing, but it needs to be fixed. Say normally they fix that within a day. They make sure they fix that. But at least there's a workaround, which means they can still continue using it. Then for a medium severity, there is a workaround that as well. But it doesn't really affect the what will I call it? The core functionalities of the system.
Juliet, sorry, can you quickly go on that slide, please? The medium severity, yes, here. So we have critical, major, well done, Nathan, medium, and low. I think you kind of messed it up. Yeah. So if you see, it says the major says the defect affects core functions considerably, but the test team can continue testing. Okay, yeah, well done. You said so. And do you know what? I was just smiling, and it shows you were attentive. You use the word showstopper. Is a buzzword. Well done. Because as a tester, we don't, tester, you have to use your buzzwords. You have to use your buzzwords. It kind of sets you apart. It makes you more professional. I mean, critical on its own is self-explanatory, but when you use the buzzwords, it kind of shows you know what you are doing. Because of course, when it's critical, then yes, it's a showstopper because nothing can happen. Nothing can happen. That's what it is. Like as I said, critical is, you can also refer to it as a blocker. Note that down. As a blocker, you will hear people using that word as well. When they say, is there a blocker? Or you can also hear impediment. Impediment is not as a block. Sometimes on your DSU, you could hear your Scrum Master saying, do we have any blocker today? Do we have any impediment? So these are the buzzwords. Get used to it. There's lots of them. So when you are going for an interview and you're using all those buzzwords, you just see them nodding their head. You feel, yeah, you are there, you're in the field. Because don't forget, there are a lot of people impersonating to be testers. So yeah, that means that's why I kept reminding you people that it's not like it's a work placement. It's a work placement. This is exactly how it is in out there. This is exactly how it is out there. There's no difference. It's the same process. Anyway, you people have not started, so you don't know what I'm saying, but it's the same process. You see, like the demo we did, when that's just how it is. That's how sprint is. That's how it is in the workplace. The only difference is the sprint might be 4 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks, but here it's 2 weeks. It's the same process. You do your daily stand-up, you do your sprint review, you do your retrospective. That's why we call it life cycle. It goes around the cycle. What you've practiced in the sprint 1 is also what you will do in sprint 2, regardless of the features or the PBIs that has been introduced in the sprint. You have your sprint goal. It's the same process. The Scrum ceremonies are the same in each sprint. Okay. Thank you so much, Nathan. Okay, we have 8 more minutes. Who do I call? Thank you so much, Nathan. Someone has Kwazim.
Yes, Rita, me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for responding. Can you tell me the difference between SDLC and STLC?
SDLC and STLC.
Feel free to use Google.
No, that's fine. STLC, I think is related to it is the software testing, while the
I'll stop you
SDLC.
there. What did you say? Okay.
I said STLC is the
Okay,
testing.
okay. Yeah. I thought you said D.
No,
Yeah.
I said STLC.
Yes.
It's
Go on.
testing, the testing phase. And SDLC is primarily considered with software development lifecycle.
Okay. So what is the acronym? What's the full meaning of STLC?
Software testing lifecycle.
Well
Then
done.
the SDLC is the software development lifecycle.
Okay. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
In one word. Just summarize it in one word. What's the difference?
STLC is the testing phase. STLC is the testing phase. Meanwhile, SDLC is the development lifecycle
of the entire project. Well done. So STLC is a subset of SDLC. Well done. I just want to juggle you guys. And I remember, I'm going to throw one big one now, which was from the previous class. When you finish classes, go back. Just, even though you don't have the video, anything you've jotted down, just quickly do a research. That's how it sticks. It will assimilate. Now, in the introduction class, I think I touched on the importance of SDLC. Can anyone tell me one? I think I listed 4. You can use Google if you have to. Okay, I'm going to call a name now. Omi, I've not heard you talk today. Okay, Toyo. Omi or Toyo, one of you, please. KG, go for it.
Good evening.
Good evening. Who's speaking? Okay, Toyo.
Toyo.
Okay.
So I think
one. Sorry?
Sorry, you can go ahead.
The question, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I was going to answer the question. I was going to try it.
Yes. One of the importance of SDLC.
So I think it was to minimize project risks.
Well done. Thank you. Can another person unmute and tell me? Use your Google.
Enhance product quality.
Well done.
Not
Another
from
one.
Google, actually.
Say that again. Sorry.
Not from Google, actually. From my.
Well done. No. I'm just trying to encourage you people. Okay. The one I will do next. No Google. Don't worry.
Is
I
that
know what I will do.
satisfaction? Sorry, I didn't.
Sorry.
Satisfaction. No, it's on me.
Me.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's satisfaction.
Yes. Well done. Thank you so much. Thank you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to catch all of you unaware the next class. No Google. I'll call your name and you have 5 seconds to unmute and then throw the question. But within 5 seconds, you need to speak. That's what I'll do. So get ready your next class. Can somebody tell me what a defect is? That's simple. Who has not spoken today? Temitope? Dakbo. One of you go for it. Dakbo or Temitope? Davis, what is the defect, please?
I'm muted. My brain is muted, actually.
Sorry?
My brain is momentarily muted on that.
For defect? Wow, we just finished the class.
For it.
Okay,
Go
so
for it,
defects
okay.
is
sorry.
defect is someone talking?
Is that
Yeah.
I called you. Where were you? You just called me. I called your name since now.
No, defect is more or less like discrepancy. It happens, maybe it's a phase from error to bugs and also defect. So I think
So if
we're
you are
being
if you are facing a recruiter and they ask you what is a defect, what will you say?
defect is a discrepancy. It's just like a kind of a stopper that will
So
not allow.
let's say
Mm,
I'm a recruiter and I ask you what is a defect. Is that how you will tell me? Just one word.
Okay, because that's I think maybe a kind of we have the one of the functional defect and maybe a performance defect, so to say. But when we are talking about defect, it's just a kind of box. Let me use the word box.
Okay,
Am
thank
I
you.
right?
Thanks for giving. No, someone else wants to speak.
Yeah, defects.
Kwazim, who is speaking?
Davis.
Okay, Davis, go for it.
Okay, so defect is when defect is actually the product or the outcome of error in in software development life cycle. So when there is error, it leads to defects, and this defects stops the software from functioning as expected or according to requirements.
Well done. Thank you for giving it a go. Kwazim, your hand was up. So your hand stay up.
Yeah, defect is like an inconsistency between expected and actual results.
Fantastic. Well done. You used the buzzword. Well done. Even if you stop there, even the recruiter you see them nodding their head. Because why? You've used the right word. We call it buzzword. You use the buzzword. That's it. Inconsistency. That's why I keep saying you can use Google. Why? Because as I'm throwing this question, it will help you to assimilate it. You will not forget when somebody else call you and ask you, what is this? So thank you so much, Kwazim. It's 10:30 on the dot. I want to leave you guys to, so I'm going to give you guys an assignment. Next week, we are doing test plan. I want you to do a research on a test plan. After the test plan class, you will definitely be creating a test plan. So I will let you do that after the class. But do a research on a test plan. That's one. Umi, you are the class captain for tonight. So take down the question because I might not remember.
okay.
Question. Please take it down now.
Okay.
It's on recording anyway, Davis. Well done. But Umi, write it down. So do a research on test plan. What's its test plan, what it entails. And I touched on it too on the last class. I did. So if you can even use only that video for it, you are good to go. Trust me. And then I wanted to ask this question this night, but I don't want us to go past our time because we are also holding Juliet. Anyway, Juliet, you can really leave anyway. You are not sharing the screen anymore. Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Juliet. And second assignment will be, guys, do a research on types of defects, and the causes of defects. There are different types of defects. Not different severity or not different priority. Types of defects. Use your Google. And causes of defects. Oh, you've taken that down, yeah?
Yes, I have.
Okay, well done. Thank you so much. So thank you, everyone. Next week, if time permits us, we'll touch on it because test plan is a big get ready, guys. It's a big subject, though I'm not the one taking it, hopefully. But yeah. And if we can touch on this assignment, we'll touch on it. If not, I will then ask you guys to send it to me. And when I say send it to me, Mr. Deji will be getting it. So it's just to see, just to keep you guys going. Let me put it out. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. You guys are doing amazingly well, trust me. And I'm very sure with the way you guys are, I like your commitments. Don't get tired, even if it gets tougher than this. You can stop the recording, please.